All right, and we are live tonight on Ask an Atheist Day. And tonight we are joined by JT Eberhard. And
Cheers.
I have to say I'm really glad to be talking to you. And I'm really sad I didn't get to actually meet you in person, really at American Atheist, the national convention. I did see you walk by a few times, and
I know we walked past each other.
yeah, and I actually got to talk to I believe it was your mother-in-law for a good 10 minutes or so, and so that was pretty cool. She seemed pretty interested in what I was doing, but anyways, just to let people know about JT in case you don't know about him. When not defending the planet from the inevitable apocalypse at the rotting hands of the undead,
It's true.
JT is yeah, JT is a writer and public speaker about atheism, gay rights, and more. He spent 2.5 years with the Secular Student Alliance as their first high school organizer. During that time, he built the SSA's school program and oversaw the development of the groups nationwide. JT is also the co-founder of the popular Skepticon conference and served as the event's lead organizer during the first 3 years. So, I'm glad you're doing very well tonight, JT. You're really
Interesting
giving me a lot of
story.
energy.
If
Go
it ever
ahead.
comes up in Trivial Pursuit, I was once for a little bit. I was a paid columnist on a zombie site writing zombie survival articles. Like I'm not just joking, man. When the apocalypse comes, you find me. Like if you want to live, find me. I'll keep you alive.
Yeah. So, well, kind of going off of that, what's your like favorite zombie flick or TV show or anything?
28 days later, I tried so hard to get into The Walking Dead. I tried. Like, were you ever a Christian?
Yes.
Okay, you know how when you're deconverting Christianity and you just can't help it, you're like, this is making less and less sense, you're liking it less and less, but you're still reading the Bible and trying so hard to get into it, and you go to your preacher and you're like, I'm having a crisis of faith, how can I be interested in this? That's how I am with The Walking Dead. Like, it's just so bad, and I love zombies so much. Like, so, in any given situation, there's the very best, there's the optimal decision you can make, and then there's, maybe not quite the optimal decision, but you can understand why someone would make that decision still. The people in Walking Dead make decisions C where like no human being should ever do something that stupid. And they do it over and over and over and over again. And it kills me. It kills me, John.
Well, did you ever try reading the actual graphic novel?
No, I haven't. I know
Okay.
I fail as a nerd.
No, no. Well, I tried reading it at first. I actually got pretty far along, but I don't know. Both of them seem to diverge pretty well, and I think that it probably still has those bad idea elements because it like in the I don't know. I hope this isn't a spoiler alert for the TV show, but in the comic, Rick actually loses his hand because he started wailing on this guy, and he like pretty much broke his hand to pieces. And it's just like that's kind of like indicative of what you're talking about there. Just like stupid decisions that he really shouldn't have
Yeah.
made.
And on top of that, for all their grotesque incompetence in decision making, these people who have never had a marksman class in their life, and I do know how to shoot guns, like are like headshotting every zombie they see from a moving car from like 50 yards away, no problem. It's just it drives me up a tree. Drives me up a tree. Are we PG-13 on this show?
Oh no, you can say what the fuck
No,
ever.
it drives me up a fucking tree. Is what it does.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that that you were Christian. I've heard that thrown around a little bit from some of your speeches that I've been watching. I'm just wondering, what kind of Christian background do you have?
I was converted by two of my teachers in high school, which was insanely illegal. And ironically, I later got a job with the Secular Student Alliance, making sure that didn't happen. But they converted me, and I became a Christian, like so many do, having just been exposed to excerpts from the Bible, but never the whole thing. And after about 5 years, I was living in Kansas, in Wichita, and here in Kansas, where I now live again, they don't cotton to them gay kind down here. But I'd grown up around gay people because my parents are very, very gay friendly, and then thieves and murderers, like I could see where those would be bad people, but the gay people I knew were nice, they were sweet, and it just boggled my mind. Did God really hate these wonderful, sweet people? So I decided to read through the Bible, and sure enough, God doesn't cotton to their kind either. So yeah, I flipped over the last page and was like, this is no, God, I don't believe this. Ugh. But what turned me into an activist, because I went through my period where I was like, oh, there's no God, but everyone's each their own. My mother got me a copy of The End of Faith for Christmas one year. And there's literally one sentence in that book that changed my life. And the sentence was, we live in an age when a person can have both the resources and the intellect to construct a nuclear weapon and still think he'll receive paradise for detonating it. And like when I read that sentence, I was like, wow, beliefs have consequences. Okay, we need to start talking about what people believe. And there you go.
Wow. So what was there any certain thing that actually got you to start calling yourself an atheist?
Oh yeah, just the moment I realized I didn't believe in God. I went through I maybe called myself an agnostic for a month, and I was like, no, I'm not agnostic. I understand why people do, but like, I don't know, the people who call themselves agnostic generally say we can't know. And so the whole point is equivocating on the word know. What does it mean to know something? Well, like, we don't know anything with absolute certainty. Like it's possible tomorrow we could turn up evidence Washington wasn't the first president. Can we still claim to know that he was? Yes, because all the present evidence points to that. Could we be wrong? Sure, but we can still say we know it. If we can't say we know given reasonable certainty, we can't claim to know anything. And that's generally the other definition is what agnostics generally say, like, oh, we can't know for certain. I'm like, yes, but we have all the evidence. We can know as well as we can know anything. There is no God. And plus, a lot of the time, like, whether or not you can know something is based on based on the God they built. For instance, we have God A and God B. Both of them are all powerful, all knowing, yada yada yada. They're identical in every way, with one exception. God A, we'll say God left hand. I don't know if that shows up that way on YouTube. No, we'll say God A. God A uses his ultimate all-powerfulness to give you irrefutable evidence that he exists. God B uses his all-powerfulness to hide all the evidence of his existence. Well, can you be anything but an atheist about God A? If he's all-powerful and he uses his all-powerfulness to give you irrefutable evidence of his existence, and we don't have that, you cannot be an agnostic about this God. You can be nothing but an atheist about this God. Whereas God B, the lack of any evidence is predictive of his existence. So by the definition most agnostics use, you can't be anything but an agnostic about this God, even though they're the same fucking thing. So, I just choose to acknowledge they're the same thing. No evidence for each. That's as good as you can know anything. It's as good as you can know leprechauns don't exist, unicorns don't exist.
I think that's a very astute way of looking at it.
Is it any surprise that Christians build up their God is God B? No, the lack of any evidence is what you'd expect. It's proof that he exists.
Yeah, well, that's something that I've been noticing lately is the fact that a lot of these apologists and whatnot really bank on this idea that you can't disprove the God, or the fact that you can't prove the God actually proves the God, which is really weird circular reasoning there.
Every con artist on the planet dreams of people falling for that line.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Because if you think about it, you could become you could become rich from it, definitely. Which, as we see now, that's pretty blatantly obvious.
Yeah, if you had no conscience.
Yeah, which apparently Joel Osteen doesn't. When did you start working with the Secular Student Alliance?
January of 2011.
Okay, what motivated you to get involved with them, did you play a hand in kind of starting it?
They actually recruited me, but it was my dream job. I was really excited to do it. I love working with young people. I love going to bat for people who I think are in a crummy situation. I think theists in high school are. So that's how that came to be.
Oh, okay. Have you had any like unique experiences during your time while working with the Secular Student Alliance? Like, I don't know, maybe protesters that got particularly violent or something like that. You know.
Nothing like that. I remember our communications director, Jesse Galiff, went on CNN one time to talk about the high school program. The second he was off CNN, my phone rings in my office and I pick it up and said, "Hello, JT Eberhard, high school organizer." Voice on the line says, "Are you a faggot?" And without missing a beat, I said, "Why? You looking for a date?" He was not nearly as amused as I was.
I think
he said he was gonna. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I think if I was in that position, I'd picked it. I would have just answered like, "I don't know, boy. You sound like you're pretty."
You got a pretty voice. Shit.
Yeah.
I'm from Arkansas. I speak the language.
Yeah. So, you know, of course, recently we were both at the American Atheist Convention, like we had previously mentioned. I'm just kind of curious, you know, what event, if anything, could you peg as your favorite throughout the weekend?
I really enjoyed Lucian Greaves' speech with the Satanic Temple and meeting the other people involved in the Satanic Temple. I used to think it was just Lucian as the figurehead. It's not. He's the public face, but there's some other people involved behind the scenes just as much, and they're brilliant. Always seeing Matt Dillahunty. If you ever get the chance to see Matt Dillahunty, do it. But if I had to pick one moment that was my absolute favorite, the Mystery Science Theater guys riffing on God's Not Dead. You and Frank Conniff.
Oh yeah, and the best news that I learned this past week was that the American Atheists organization is actually going to be putting out the riff that they recorded live there.
Oh my God! Okay, we're gonna have to take a 5-minute break for me to fap real quick. That's the best news I've heard all day. That's awesome.
Well, was there any certain part of the movie that you found you know, particularly funny? Like I have a couple in my mind, but I'm kind of curious what.
No part of the movie, like their commentary throughout was some of their best work, but no, the movie itself was dreadful. I mean, it wasn't just bad; it was fucked up. Like at the end, they run over the atheist. They literally kill him with a car. This is vehicular manslaughter at best. They don't call an ambulance. They get down instead of trying to revive him and tell him about Jesus, and he, you know, converts on his deathbed because that's what happens in movies. And they get up and they're like, "A miracle happened here today," and I'm like, "You just killed a motherfucker! Like, what is wrong with you? You just ended a life."
Yeah.
I just. And Christians paid money to see this shit. They loved it. They lapped it up like a toilet. It was
Yeah, and for anybody watching that hasn't actually seen it, don't, unless you see the Riff Tracks version. But basically, if you can think of every if you can think of every single apologetic argument that has been debunked for the past 25 years, in the movie.
Mixed in with shitty morality.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I know Dead Space is terrible. I hope you can edit this. I'm going to take 5 seconds and run and grab a napkin and blow my nose because I feel like an idiot on your show. 1 second.
Okay.
Success. And we's back. All right, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Well, for me personally, what I liked, of course, I'm talking about the actual riffing on the movie, not the actual movie itself. Yeah. But one of the parts that I found the funniest was when the Arabian, I guess, Middle Eastern girl was sitting down and she was crying because she just got kicked out, and then this woman comes over, sets down a small thing of tissues, and goes, here's a little box of sympathy. I died laughing at that point.
Oh my God. Oh, right at the end, after the atheist professor has died and he's had his death street bed conversion and the miracle happens. At the concert, one of the women walks up to the main character and says, "You are the guy who stood up to that evil atheist professor who said God's dead." And without missing a beat, they're like, "And now he's dead." That cracked me up.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's just so bad. And like the atheist professor at one point says to his girlfriend, like when she's talking philosophy with him, was like, "Oh, you've been reading again," and he wasn't joking. Like he was serious. Like because that's what college professors hate.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like you could not cartoon caricature an atheist more if you tried. And like what kills me is like if an atheist made a movie like that caricatured Christians like that, and I went to see it, like I'm as anti-religion as it gets. One of the first things I do is email and be like, "That is not fair. That's a straw man. Like you are embarrassing atheists. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And, like no Christian did that. No Christian did that, or none to my knowledge. Like Christians bought tickets to this thing left and right. They loved it. They loved it.
If I remember correctly, like whole churches.
There is vodka in this glass, and I'm drinking all of it on account of that movie.
If I recall, there were several church like organizations that bought out whole theaters just so that they could go and see the movie. I thought, I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Back on to the conference. Was there any particular speaker that you really liked while you were there?
Lucian Greaves and Matt Dillahunty, of course. Dave Silverman is always incredible and one of the sweetest guys out there. So yeah. Really happy. Also David Fitzgerald. If you ever get to see David Fitzgerald, do it. And Sarah Moorhead was also one of my favorites, not because her talk was like as funny as David Fitzgerald's, but because the Hotline Project is such a big deal, and she really captures why it's a big deal, and she conveys that really well.
Yeah, I've actually got her reading the transcripts on my channel here. If anybody really wants to hear them, you can go there. It's got really decent audio too, so it's very powerful and moving. I mean, it had both me and I was almost in tears. I was able to fight it back, but my wife, she was crying, and
my wife though, not me.
No. I was almost bawling. I was really trying not, because I was just very, I guess, insecure about it at the time. So I was just like, "Don't you dare!" But yeah, it was very moving and very. It really does highlight, because with Sarah Moorhead's speech, I thought in presenting the transcripts, I thought that she did a very good job of representing both sides of the line, if you want to think of it that way. Because not only did she have atheists that were calling in and helping, but she also had theists that were calling in and having, issues with other theists. But they were calling into this Hotline Project for help. And I thought highlighting that was a very important aspect of it.
It's so true. And every atheist in high school, as part of a religious family, knows religion doesn't win by having the best arguments. Religion wins by imposing social consequences for dissension, right? I mean, I don't know if you saw my workshop, but I pointed this out. Everybody who drove to the American Atheist Conference, I'm sure, saw several billboards on the interstate: "Come to our church, believe in Jesus, or go to hell," right? We've all seen those. You ever see a billboard that says, "Come to our church, we have evidence"? Fuck no, you don't, because that's not how they win. They win by scaring the shit out of you. Or if you're a kid, they do it by lording your room and board or college over your head. Like, you lose this if you're an atheist. Your employers can do it by lording employment over people. This is how religion has always thrived, by creating social consequences for non-belief, not by convincing anybody fairly.
Right. And if anybody really wants a good example of that, Sarah Moorhead points that out in her speech. So go and look at that on my channel. But that's exactly what they do. Is they impose these consequences for not believing, and it's really emotional abuse, sometimes physical abuse, that they go through in order to make people believe. And it's quite sad, in my opinion. And I have to say, JT, you have got to quit hacking my computer and looking at all the questions that I've drummed up, because you're hitting the next one every single time.
Oh my God, I can barely load up Windows, man. It ain't me.
I'm from
Arkansas. We just got indoor plumbing down there. I don't even know how a smartphone works.
Well, yeah,
Lucky to make it play music.
well, okay. If you don't know, I'm from North Alabama, so we're lucky to have concrete
Oh,
roads and
gee.
shit. Um, but you were talking about your workshop. I'm kind of curious. How did that go? I wasn't actually able to attend it. I wish I could have been, but I'm curious. How did it go?
I enjoyed it. I think debate is something a lot of people want to do, but like anything else, it takes a lot of experience. And if people like me and Matt Dillahunt, you have tons of experience doing it, can help shorten that process. It makes me feel really good. But it intimidates me sitting next to Matt Dillahunt, even though we're friends. Because don't get me wrong, I think I'm a good debater, but I mean he's a god. He's great at it. So my goal in those workshops is just to shut up and maybe drop in every now and again, but just get out of Matt's way and let him do his thing.
Yeah, which I have to say I have watched you in at least one debate on YouTube, and I mean I thought you did really well with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and me personally, I've only been in one kind of official debate, and a lot of people think I lost it, but at the same time, I don't know. Debates are always up for, I guess, interpretation as far as who actually won. Not that it really mattered, but anyways, of course, tonight we're here to discuss the whole Ask an Atheist Day. And I'm kind of curious, were you around with the Secular Student Alliance when this got started, or was this something that happened after you left?
It was so long ago. I'm not sure if I was there when it was started. I think I was, but I was certainly around when it was. And I think it's a great idea. Yeah, part of the reason it's so hard for people to, and not just because. Okay, so I think some Christians or some religious people have honest questions about atheism and what it's like, but I think it's a scant few. But I don't think that's the entire point anyway. For me, Ask an Atheist Day and seeing Secular Student Alliance groups on campuses do it is about announcing to the Christians and religious people that do have doubts, hey, there's other people out here. You can come talk to us in a judgment-free environment. It's about helping them leave. And it certainly has that effect, and that's what I really like about it.
Okay. Yeah, and I have to say, I wish that my Ask an Atheist Day had went a little bit better. Of course, I'm 30, and I've been out of, college and school in general for a good 3-4 years. So I really wish that I had taken part in a lot of these things because I think I would have really enjoyed it. I know at the American Atheist Conference, there was that prayer rally that was going on over there and had a bunch of people, which I thought that was a pretty big dick move of them to like put Memphis Exalts Jesus and have it facing right towards the Peabody. It's like, can you be any more fucking blatant about it?
That what kills me is like they have church services every Sunday at minimum, probably Wednesdays too, hell, probably other days of the week. We meet up one time a year and they're like, what the fuck, this is unacceptable. We're going to go protest. Like, Jesus, guys.
Well, there was actually a news report in the local Memphis area that basically said that apparently the American Atheist Convention happening at the Peabody in Memphis on Easter weekend was like a slap in the face to them and was very offensive that we were even there. I mean, what do you think about that?
Why? Did they give a reason? Like, if you're trying to tell me that our existence as atheists is offensive to you, or that you have the deeds to the first weekend in April,
well,
fuck you. Like, what am I supposed to say to that?
Well, basically, I think that their problem was that we were infringing upon their Walking Dead Day.
How? Go to church. We ain't stopping you. Like,
Yeah.
you do whatever you want. Like you're like, did you want to stay at the Peabody that weekend? Sorry, we have the right to check out rooms, same as you. Beyond that, I can't see how we're inconveniencing anybody. Like literally anybody. Your life changes zero due to our presence. I don't see how you can be upset about that.
Well, and what the way they made it out was like we had huge banners across the Peabody, and we had like spotlights up in the air with the big A's and everything, and we had like pamphlets on the side of the road, which was really just the religious people. they were acting like, we were just throwing it in their face, but it's just like, oh, we're there, and that's why you're pissed.
Okay, one, that's not true. Two, even if it was, who gives a shit? They proselytize 24/7, 365 days a year. They do it 400 days a year if they could. Like, who cares? Like, that's our right, the same as theirs. Like, you're upset that we're doing the same things you guys do one day a year, even though we didn't. But even if we had, so what? Like, I just hate it. Like, these are the people who, on December 25th, if I want to sit around and play video games instead of paying homage to Jesus, they're like, oh, you're disrespecting Christmas. I'm like, fuck, I'm having a good time with my life. My life ain't yours. Eat a dick.
Yeah, well, I think
it's just incredible hubris to think they can lord over our lives and decide when and where we can't meet. Like, do we ever go into their churches and be like, oh, I'm sorry, this is Saturday, this is sex day for me and my wife, you guys can't meet on this day, sorry, no celibacy on this day, go home, get it on, sorry, I'm lording over your life. No, that's stupid. We would look like assholes if we did that.
Yeah, and honestly, it reminds me of something that Joe Rogan said about homophobic people. It's that that basically that they're really just secretly afraid that they love the taste of dick, and it just makes me think that they are just secretly like, well, maybe God doesn't exist. But then that whole Christian indoctrination thing kicks in and slaps them upside the head, and is like, no, we got to believe in God. And crush anybody that believes differently, basically. But to try to get back on track a little bit,
I need another rant. Hit me.
Okay.
Well, I'm good to go.
All right. I have a few questions as far as Ask an Atheist Day, and I actually posed this to the AMA that was going on our atheism today that the Secular Student Alliance did in conjunction with the American Atheists. And I had a couple questions that I threw out there, and I had some really good responses. The first one is how do you feel about the religious freedom bills that are becoming more and more common? And do you think that they are kind of like a last gasp of air for religion mixing in with politics?
Yeah, I do feel they're kind of a last gasp. How do I feel about them? It depends on the religious freedom bill. There are some that mirror the federal religious freedom bill, like to the letter, in which case they don't do anything. They're like masturbation without coming at the end. It's just they don't do a damn thing. So in those cases, they're a waste of time, and I despise them as being a waste of governmental time. But I'm glad they don't change anything. The ones like Indiana had, and the one Arkansas wanted to do, the one they're working on in North Carolina and Louisiana, and the one they abandoned in Georgia, those actually have negative consequences on the world. So of course I can't stand those. And it's just such a flimsy excuse. Like, if you think religious freedom is this great thing, you shouldn't want to make it synonymous with discrimination. And what's more, your religion doesn't get you exemptions to whatever laws you feel like. You can't discriminate against women because in your business because of your religious beliefs. Even if you really truly sincerely believe it, tough shit, discrimination's a bad thing, and it doesn't become a good thing just because it's a religious person doing it. You can't discriminate against racial minorities in your business. Everyone acknowledges this. Like, racial discrimination is bad. If you have a religious motivation to do it, tough shit, discrimination's bad. It doesn't become good just because a religious person does it. And in fact, in 1968, a guy named Maurice Bessinger, he was the owner of a place called Piggy Pork Barbecue. He said he didn't want to serve black people because of his sincerely held religious beliefs. Like, this was his argument, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And Thurgood Marshall recused himself, but the other justices voted 8-0 against the guy because you're religious isn't a good enough reason for you to discriminate against people in your place of business. And it doesn't become any better because it's gay people. And the thing is, the same people pushing these bills know that religious beliefs aren't a good enough reason to discriminate against black people or women, but they want to slide it in as though it's gay people. And what I'm happy about, though, is the internet wasn't around in the 1960s and the 1920s, right? So it's easy for religious people to rewrite the narrative now and be like, oh no, Christianity was the forefront of getting black people equal rights and women equal rights, even though we know for damn well, anyone who looks into this knows that's not the case. Like, people were marching around with signs like the Bible says, no women, no blacks, and mixing the races is wrong, down with loving v Virginia. But because the internet's around and we can enshrine and preserve all the all the things religious leaders are saying, they cannot rewrite the narrative now. It will be clear in the future that while not every Christian was opposed to gay rights, of the people who were opposed to gay rights, almost 100% of them did it because they were a Christian. And I'm really happy about that. Yeah, and they'll even be able to look back on this Indiana Religious Freedom Act and see like all the religious goons standing behind him when he signed it and be like, I wonder what the source of this was.
Well, speaking about the Indiana situation in general, how do you feel about the Memories Pizza with the backlash and everything that occurred because of that?
I haven't followed it precisely. So what did they do?
Well, basically, a news reporter.
I know they got the fundraiser online.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a reporter went and asked them, "Would you serve a gay wedding?" And they said no. Right.
Yeah, because weddings always cater pizza.
Right. I'm a big fan of this movement that says, if you want to discriminate, fine. Put a sticker on the front of your businesses. We won't serve gay people. Like, at least make it known. Like, if you want to do this, fine, but you don't get to do it on the down low. You need to face the consequences for being an asshole. So to that extent, yeah, the Republican or the reporter was probably looking to cause them strife. Like, what causes them strife is the fact that they would discriminate against gay customers. Like, the reporter, dug it up, probably looking to make that happen. But at the same time, like, if it had just come to light at random, then everyone would be like, oh yeah, fuck these guys. So I don't mind. But what kills me is, like, we always from the liberal Christians, we always get like, oh no, these are just some bad apples, some bad eggs. Don't transpose Christianity onto them. Look how much money people have given to this freaking little pizza place. Say almost explicitly because they discriminate against gay people. You think that money's coming from anybody but Christians? Fuck no, it ain't. So don't sell me this line that Christians are being caricatured by atheists. It just ain't the case.
Yeah. To kind of break away from my set of questions, and we've actually got one in the live comments here, which I implore everybody to get in the live commenting and throw us questions, and I'll interject randomly. But Ultra 80s asks, how effective do you think debates really have on people? Maybe for the ones that doubted or always wanted to switch, surely not the older set in stone type.
Yeah, it depends on your goals. As far as changing minds goes, it depends on the person. Here's the deal. Everyone out there has probably heard an atheist say, why do you bother debating religious people? You never change anybody's minds, right? You've heard that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard it a million times. It makes me want to vomit blood every time I hear it. For one, it's just flagrantly untrue. The atheist movement is full of religious people who change their minds after hearing arguments, about reading Richard Dawkins or whatnot. And I've tested this at talks. I've said, hey, raise your hand if you were a Christian. All right, now leave your hand up if your mind was changed by Richard Dawkins or an argument someone gave you. And like, most of the hands stay up. And this is just how the brain works. Religious people tell us you have to choose to believe in God. You can't do that. You don't choose your beliefs. And if you don't think this is true, try sometime walking to the roof, to the edge of the roof of a skyscraper, and just trying to convince yourself by force of will that gravity isn't real. You can't do it. Your mind is already made up based on what facts are rattling around inside. This is why when people leave religion, they often do it over a long time and painfully, like not wanting to leave their religion. They go to their preacher and say, hey, I'm having a crisis of faith. Help, 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 help. But they can't. They just don't have a choice. They can't help themselves, because once the right facts get in there, you're powerless to do anything else. Your brain generates beliefs for you, and you can't tell it not to. So if you debate well and you get the right facts into someone's head, you can change minds. And that's also why I hate hearing this, you'll never change anybody's minds line, because it puts all the blame on the religious person. It says like, oh, they're too close-minded. I made my case perfectly. Couldn't have done it any better. Had all the relevant facts presented in the best way possible, and they're just too close-minded to hear it. Bullshit. You can always improve your approach to get better at getting people to listen to you, about getting those facts into their head. And we need to focus on doing that better, because a lot of us really suck at it. So as far as live debates, how they change people's minds, because personal debates, I think, definitely change people's minds. Look up my debate with Aaron Brummett. the Baptist Student Union in Springfield, Missouri. I had 3 members of his congregation come up to me after the debate and say, like, this guy's wrong. You're right. We're leaving his church. And they friended me on Facebook. They were serious. I got them in the course of a night. I had a team debate for Matt and Dillahunty against a couple Catholics. We had someone from their diocese come up and tell us, like, yeah, you're right. None of this is true. I'm an atheist now. Like, got them. Now, that's really rare. People don't often change their minds in one sitting. It normally takes lots and lots of time. How you usually see minds changed is you have the debate, you don't feel you've made any progress, and then 6 or 8 months later you get an email. It's like, yeah, I thought about what you said and it turns out you were right. It takes time to percolate. Like religious people say, you have to plant the seed. So don't get discouraged if you don't change somebody's mind in the course of one conversation. You did part of the legwork required to get them there.
Yeah, I completely and utterly agree with you. I've always said that.
Excellent. Cheers.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I've always said that debates aren't for the people that are actually having the debate, but it's for the people that are watching the debate and trying to learn from the debate. And I believe even Bill Nye said that in his debate with Ken Ham. And that it's not between them two, but it's for the audience, and the audience has to make up their mind given the 2 different sides. And so
live debates often are, but don't discount one-on-one debates with friends where the goal is to change the mind of the person on the other side, because the technique is very much the same.
Yeah, I guess I was more referencing like a formal kind of debates, but
okay.
but yeah, debates or arguments or whatever between on a more personal level are very effective, at least in my experience. And
Sure. How else does anybody's mind get changed?
Yeah, and well, kind of going off of what something that you just said, when I was coming out of religion, or growing up and being in religion in general, I can really identify points in my life where like you said, just the right facts came in and really changed my thinking in my brain, generated new beliefs, and so that really kind of progressively helped me move out of religion. So I think that a lot of people experience that, but they really just don't even realize that they do.
Yeah.
So, is there any certain Christian argument that like you just utterly hate?
Well, you can't be moral without God one, I find, I hate it because it's personally offensive. You're insisting that I can't be moral, or that my morality comes from some God and not me just giving a shit about being a nice person. If morality comes from God, there are plenty of immoral Christians in the world. Like, you can read my blog, like what's happening there. So I find that argument to be particularly off-putting. I don't know. The ontological argument is particularly stupid. And what kills me is, as particularly stupid as it is, like whenever I've debated PhDs in philosophy, like they love that argument. They can't get enough of the ontological argument. I'm like, this sounds like something a 3-year-old came up with, Like, I can imagine God, so he's real because I can imagine him. Like, what?
That's
what?
I think that I would be compelled to just be like, I'm still waiting for an argument here. I don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah. I don't know, like it's hard for me to think of arguments I hate, like the really bad ones, because like when I hear them, I just start salivating, waiting for my turn to rip them apart. Like that you can't prove God doesn't exist. I mean, every time I hear that, I gotta get a half boner. I'm just like, oh, when's it my turn? Here it comes. Here comes the pain. Like, but so I kind of like those because they're so easy to beat. But yeah, those are probably the arguments I find I despise the most.
Well, honestly, that was my attitude at the American Atheist conference, because there was the one guy out there that had the board. I believe that you actually got a picture with him that basically called people fools and whatnot, and a lot of people were kind of confused as to why I was putting a lot of effort into confronting him. And
that was one of my happiest memories of the conference. This group of old people walks by. And the old guy is in a camo jacket. In the middle of Memphis, he's wearing camo. Don't know what he's hunting, but he's in the middle of Memphis. And he looks at Dieter. He's got a YouTube channel. I can't think of it. But he says, "You're the tallest idiot I've ever seen." And immediately I was like, "Who said that?" Oh, it's the guy wearing camo in the middle of a city.
Yeah, Dieter Lucum.
I
Anybody?
couldn't see you. It was all the camo. You're blending into your surroundings.
Like, oh shit, I didn't see you there, man. Sorry. You blend in so well with the city
Yeah.
surroundings.
And then his wife was like, because I had a Scare Bear shirt on. His wife's like, "Oh, you're wearing a T-shirt with Care Bears on." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm wearing an ironic shirt in the city. You got me."
Oh man.
You know, it'd be weird if I was in the middle of the woods hunting wearing this T-shirt. That would be really silly, wouldn't it? This is what we're up against.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, it may like I actually when I was talking to that guy, I actually double face palmed. Like I've never done that before, and even I live in North Alabama, but I've never just sat there and been like. And it was because the guy, like his argument for God was, all right, do you put gas in your car?
Yeah.
Oh shit, God is real.
Wait, that was it? Like
Yeah.
there's no other premises or jumping points. It's just you put gas in your car.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
it was to say, well, the car works because of gas, so the world works because of God. Maybe I don't.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't,
So it's like a roundabout watchmaker argument.
yeah, basically.
Okay.
But he said it in such a nonsensical way, like he just pull it out, like he pull it out of his ass, and it's just different metaphors that just didn't make sense, and it's just like every single time, it's like I don't know what you're doing.
And you know what kills me is like this is not the reason this guy believes in God, right? He didn't hear someone say the same thing, but like, oh, I've seen the light, right? These arguments aren't they'll never put forward why they believe is the reason you should believe. They've got all these other arguments that aren't the reason they believe to try and convince you. You know why? Because the reasons they believe suck ass. They suck ass, John. They're terrible. They're even worse than the arguments they're giving you.
Yeah, I would have to say so. Because, I mean, every time I'm confronted with one of these, just simplistic apologetic arguments that people think that, checkmate atheist, it's just like, I've lowered my IQ even trying to talk to you, so.
It can be that way sometimes.
Yeah. Is there any atheist argument that you don't like people using or you find wanting to punch a wall or something whenever somebody brings it up?
Yeah, when they say, why do you bother arguing with religious people? You can't change anybody's mind. That's my most hated one. Yeah, people have their go-to arguments, and they're not always applicable. Can God make a rock so big he can't lift it? They'll do that before they've even established that God can do anything, or without even talking about what it means to be all-powerful, whether or not that falls short of being able to overcome, logical contradictions. And they'll just throw it out like as a gotcha without even probably doing less thought about it themselves than the theist ever has.
Yeah, well, I know when I was, becoming more vocal and whatnot, I was trying to get my shit right and understand stuff before I actually started using the arguments.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and so that's when I became a lot more vocal when I felt like I had come to the point where I understood, how to, I guess, defend my position in a very intellectual way while still saying fuck. But let's see. We've actually got another question from the live comments. And it's Ultra 80s again. And he asked, how about the label between atheist and agnostic? Does it bother you guys in any way? And some are quite combative other than atheist. So what I think is... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We talked about the difference between those two labels earlier in the show. You can probably go back on the recording. I don't want to rehash it because we probably spent 5 or 10 minutes on it. But as far as how I feel about people using those labels, I often feel that agnostics haven't thought through what it really means when we say we know something. And no one, and the thing is, like, no one wants to have that conversation. We say, you need to call yourself atheist because we need to be united, and for a bunch of other reasons, rather than trying to convince them that they've got a bad idea of what it means to know something. But if they want to call themselves an agnostic, I don't give a good goddamn. We're all functionally the same thing, really. I see the utility of all identifying proudly as an atheist to try and remove some of the stigma from it. I get that, but you got to let people identify how they want. You can't force labels on people, and it's enough that we all pretty much agree on the same thing. We're good there.
Yeah, well,
if you want to call yourself, I think the bright thing was just silly to the extreme. But if you want to call yourself a bright, fine. Respect for you. It's your body. It's your life. You identify how you want, and I'll respect that.
You know, I honestly can't think of that word bright without thinking about that pastor who confessed to like punching a kid that was bright in order to bring him to the Lord.
Yeah, this is the guy up there lecturing us about morality.
And then he talks about punching a kid in the chest. Yeah.
Yeah, for questioning God. And you know, if it was just him, I wouldn't give it a damn. If it was just him, like, okay, you're one kook, no big deal. But he talks about punching the kid, and he embellished, like he laid the kid out, like he's bragging about, I laid this kid out for questioning God. The congregation, the crowd went wild. That's the problem. They're not just one random wacko. It's a bunch of people who agree with them.
Oh yeah, and speaking of that, I don't know if you heard the crowd when Phil Robertson was up there talking about hacking off a guy's junk in front of his raped and murdered family, but the crowd there, they were just like, oh yeah, fuck those atheists, yeah, kind of deal, you know? And it's just really sad that they are trying to sit on this moral high ground, looking at us and being like, you're the immoral ones, but you know, our book is filled with rape and torture.
Like, we all agree that the rapists are terrible people. Like, those people are monsters. But you know what? If they believe in Jesus right now or come to believe in Jesus later, they're going to heaven. Where the atheist in the chair is suffering through all this, he gets to go to hell and suffer some more. That's not justice. That's terrible. And what's more, in Robertson's example, he talks about the atheist being tied up. You know why he talked about the atheist being tied up? Because even at the risk of his own life, if he could have stopped them, he would have done it. Any good person would have done it. If you or I knew that was going on, we'd have busted in guns blazing and put a stop to it, right? We'd have tried everything in our power to stop those people from harming everyone else. God saw it if he exists. He was in the room. He had the power to stop it. He wasn't even under any threat. Those guys can't stop God. He's all powerful. He lives forever. God didn't do it. No. God clearly cares less than the atheist in the chair, than you or me. And the people in the audience clearly care less as well.
Well, you know, what made his whole story nonsensical to me was the fact that he was describing a psychopath. And whether or not a psychopath believes in God, despite the fact that God is kind of a psychopath himself, you know, it's not going to matter whether or not he believes in God or not. So, I mean, like to him, it would have seemed just as right as if he was an atheist. So it's like his entire argument is moot, in my opinion. But
I don't know. He's got a killer beard, but other than that, yeah, his argument's moot.
I don't know. I like my beard a little bit better.
I like it because it's on you instead.
Yeah. But let's see. Okay, so I went to the Ask an Atheist on Reddit, and I pulled some pretty good questions. I felt they were pretty good.
Hit me. I'm a whole glass of rum and juice in. Hit me. I'm good to go.
All right. So the first one here is, how do you feel about anti-theists? Are they helpful or harmful to atheism as a whole?
Helpful on the whole. Well, I should qualify that. It depends on how you go around it. Like the guy who's just walking around outside with a Jesus was a cunt t-shirt saying fuck Christians. No, that guy's not doing any good. He's just making people bitter and resentful. But the anti-theists like Hitchens, you know, myself, I don't know if I'd call him an anti-theist. Matt Dillahunty, you know, whether he identifies as not, he's certainly anti-religion. The word anti-theist carries some baggage because theists are also people, and so it can be construed as being against religious people, which we're not. We're against the beliefs they hold. I think anti-theism might be a better word, but as long as we can all get on the same definition, I think most of the anti-theists out there, at least the ones who have some notoriety, like myself and Dillahunty and Seth Andrews, Hitchens. I think they're doing good on the whole. Now, will they turn some people off? Sure, they will. But also the people who are super, super sweet also won't reach everybody. Everybody has a particular method that appeals to them the most, which is why we need a big tent. We need people who are good at various things. And if a scientific study came out tomorrow that established that being totally nice to Christians and never ever questioning their religious beliefs was the best way to move people over, I would still be an anti-theist because I suck at that. Like, I'm terrible at that. I'm much better at finding people's arguments. Why do you believe in God? Okay, let's talk about that. Here's why I think it's logically errant. So yeah, we need everybody doing what they're good at, because they're gonna reach some people and they're not gonna reach others. But anti-theists fill that role for sure.
Okay, and I've always like whenever somebody asks me about anti-theism, because I consider myself an I adhere to anti-theism, and the way that I present it is that I want religion to go away in general, like the whole belief system, but I want it to go away through education and whatnot. And so, like, educating and not being afraid to confront these religious beliefs when people have them is, I think, a very good and is what is really driving the movement, as Dave Silverman in his speech was talking about. Because he was saying how the firebrand atheism is the one that's really driving the change in America. Would you agree with that?
It's part of the machine driving the change, but I don't think it's the entirety of it. It might not even be the bulk of it. I don't know. I can't comment on that. I don't have enough information to say.
Okay. There was one person on the Reddit post today asking about how to handle fundamentalist neighbors, because apparently the neighbors have already like told their son that they're gonna die and go to hell first or something like that. How do you feel about those kind of situations?
You need to make your boundaries very clear and need to do it firmly. If they're coming over to your side of the lawn, telling your kids like, "Hey, you're going to hell," you need to go knock on the door and be like, "Hey, I know you feel like you're doing my son a favor. I appreciate that, but our boundaries, that crosses them, right? You're not to tell my kid that, and you just need to make it clear. And you can even barter with him, like, you want to tell my kid that? Do you have children? How about you arrange for me to sit down and tell him why your religion is false? You don't like that? Good, then you know how I feel."
Yeah, I know a lot of these fundamentalists. They like to think that it's their divine job to, no matter what, go out and convert people to their religion.
Well, sure, and who can blame them? They think people are going to hell, right? The people who go out of their way to try and convert people, I at least have a little respect for them, because they're acting like what they believe is true. Every unbeliever they see out there is dangling over the precipice of eternal torture, and they care, and they want to come save me from that. What kills me are the Christians who believe in hell, who walk by me knowing I'm an atheist. It's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And don't give a single solitary fuck. Like, if you walked past a person dangling over the edge of a cliff about to fall to their death, like, who of us wouldn't forget everything else in their life and make that person our sole and only priority to pull them up from over that cliff, right? Well, these Christians, we're all dangling over the edge of hell. What do? They walk by us and say, "Hey, good day," go to church on Sunday and think about what good Christians they've been. Those people I have a lot less respect for than the ones who try at all costs to convert me. Of course, trying at all costs to convert me is annoying, so they have to deal with me then, but at least I can understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. Which honestly, being in the South here, I get a lot of proselytizers coming into my door. I even had these two Mormon guys. They came by 3 times in order to try to talk quote unquote sense into me. And
Right.
actually, you'll find this amusing. I actually got one of them to utter under his breath that he sounded crazy. because he was talking about his faith and all that other stuff, and he was like, "I know I sound crazy," you know. I was
If you know you sound crazy, what are you gonna do about that?
Yeah, exactly. But I had them, and then Jehovah's Witnesses. They came by, and I was like, yeah, sure, come on by and talk. And of course, they didn't come back by. Actually, one time they brought reinforcements. Huh?
There's actually a website online where you can go with the Mormon Church and say like, hey, this person wants to hear about the gospel. Can you send missionaries to this address? You know how like some people send their friends like strippers to their door. Not my friends. They send me fucking Mormons. They go online and they're like, hey, Mormons, this guy really needs the word of God.
Well, you know, ironically, that's actually what happened to me. I don't know who did it, maybe, but apparently they were told, hey, this guy needs God. And so they were like, yeah, we just got told to come here. And I was like, that's really weird.
Okay, boys, strap in.
Yeah.
The last time Mormons got sent to me, they said, have you ever tried praying? I said, of course I've tried praying. I used to be a Christian. I said, well, you need to pray. You know, God will give you the answers. And I said, okay, I'll try it. So that they left. I came back 3 days later and said, did you try praying? I said, yeah, I tried praying. Did it work out? No. What'd you pray for? I prayed for a free donut stand in my front yard so I can have hot free donuts whenever I want. Well, that one doesn't count. Like, why not? Can I only pray for things that can be fulfilled by coincidence? Like this would give me irrefutable proof, right? This is the prayer I wanted.
Well, I know you really don't know anything about my background, but you know, I grew up Catholic.
You're an engineer and you're godless and you live in North Alabama.
There you go. That's all you need to know, really. I mean,
get on my level.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic, and so you know, when I was a kid, I was always very, I guess, literal when it came to like so if they told me, well, Moses fit all the animals on the ark. Well, when I was younger, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know about square footage and could all the animals really fit on the ark. You know, I trusted my teachers and everybody, you know, and so I was very literal about it. So when they told me the story about, you know, Jesus standing there and being like, you know, raising the basket up and being like, ask and it shall be given, I'm like, holy shit, yes. I can just pray and get whatever the fuck I want to. And then like I would try that and it wouldn't work, and so I'd go back and question. It's like, well, no, what you gotta pray for is strength. I'm like, that's not what the fine print said. So I just find it really odd.
But strength can be acquired without prayer.
Exactly. I just find it quite odd that they're like, no, you got to pray for like strength to do this. It's like, well, fuck, I had strength before. What I really need is I just need a bike or something, you know, kind of deal. Of course, I was a kid, so like I said, I was quite literal when it came to that kind of stuff.
You should have become an engineer. That was a good career path for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that I did because it really meshed well with how I think in general. And you know, to be honest, it's really helped me out. Because you know, with engineering, at least software engineering, which is what is what I had my master's in, you really have to think about the security measures of the system that you're building. And you got to try to protect against people using it maliciously, which is why I find it really odd that these like religious freedom bills and all these things are getting through legislation so quickly, because it just seems like there's so many holes in it. I mean, what do you think about, you know, these fundy Christians that are really pushing hard, like to put legislation in our government to kill homosexuals, just execute them right there on the street? Because you know, there's that guy in California that was wanting to do that.
Yeah. Oh well, bills like that, I think they're hilarious because they have no chance of becoming law whatsoever. But it's also kind of ironic because the people who support them, they're the ones running around being like, we love the Constitution in America way more than everybody else. You're the ones trying to fuck with the Constitution, not us. We're defenders of it. Like, you guys don't know about the 14th Amendment, do you? You never read the fucking thing. It's like the Bible. You never read the fucking thing. You're promoting a bill that says we can discriminate and kill people. Like, that could not be more against the fucking Constitution.
Yeah, well, I know when I read that story about him needing it, and it was like now he's got to go and get 365,000 signatures. It's like, pfft, good luck with that. I don't
He'll
think.
get it. He'll get it.
Oh, you think so? Because I don't think there's
Oh,
enough
I think.
Westboro Baptist Church members out there to fill that.
Oh, dude, like the west coast of California is pretty liberal, but once you get off into the mountains, no, man, they got hicks just like everyone or everywhere else.
You say they got hicks like everywhere else, and here I'm thinking of relatives that I
Hey, Sam,
have.
I'm from Arkansas, man. Well, you put me back in Arkansas, I'm as hick as it comes, minus the God belief.
Yeah. Which I've actually got a recent video where I did some voiceover of Ken Ham talking to this guy from the American Family Association or something like that, and I
Peter
can
LaBarbera.
I think his name was Tom something.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's just that I got complimented with how well I can do like the extreme Southern accent, but my Ken Ham is shitty because I just can't do the whole American Australian type of thing. Um,
Oh, as far as the deep south goes, it's all about how you use your R's. Like if you're in the deep south, you really got to pronounce your R's, but if you're a southerner, you don't pronounce your R's at all.
see, you got that sounds like for my area that sounds a bit more sophisticated, and because like around here it's more or less like now y'all listen up now we're gonna go down to the Walmart and we're not gonna touch any of them gay
Down to the
people, okay?
Walmarts, yeah. No, I actually do the southern thing because I used to be an opera singer, and one of my audition songs was John Wilkes Booth from Assassins. And so I didn't just want to sing it like an American. I actually wanted to sing it like a Southerner. So I actually learned the accent.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How
And
long
so,
were you an opera singer?
oh, just like 3 years. Nothing
Okay.
major. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel so bad because he's trying to convince the narrator of the show why he killed Lincoln. Uh, and one of his lines is how the Union can never recover from that vulgar, high and mighty nigger lover, which you say that because it's in character, but like every time I sang it, I said nigger lover, and I was like, oh my god, even in character, I feel so dirty saying this.
Yeah, I felt the same way in doing the voiceover because in the voiceover I say faggot a lot just because that's like
Mhm.
like I'm trying to represent like what they actually mean whenever they talk about this kind of stuff, and so like using that's kind of like
Yeah.
a railroad spike to it, uh, and
Yeah. And sure, there's people out there who think like, oh no, any use of that word is bad. Not when you're just describing what someone else said. And I don't agree with that. As a descriptor, like you're just like this person said this word that I don't particularly care to use myself. If they're branding you as like a hater of gay people, or in my case, a hater of black people because you use it as a descriptor, can't please everybody.
exactly. Um, But to kind of round off the interview here tonight, can you tell us, how did you get your start on Patheos? Like, how did you make your move to doing the blogging thing?
I was on free thought blogs, and I became aware that Patheos paid more money, and this is when I was leaving the Secular Student Alliance, and so I wanted to try blogging for a living. So I knew I needed to move to make enough money to do it. So I came over to Patheos, and I'm really glad I did. While I don't think there's some bloggers at Free Thought Blogs I really like, Miriam Ogilevsky. Um, oh God, I've had a whole glass of rum, so I can't remember Ashley's last name, even though I've known her forever. But she's great, and Ed Brayton and Mano Singham. Like I have disagreements with these people, but they're viewed as disagreements. Nobody views that disagreement as like, oh, you're pro rape or you hate black people or you hate gay people. Like they know this is obviously not the case, but I don't think that's the case with everybody over there. And I'm so divorced from that tactic and that attitude that I'm actually kind of glad I'm gone, even though I miss some of the people over there. But I really like Patheos as my home. They've been great to me. I think the Atheist channel is the best writing in all the atheist online internet activism or what have you. And I'm fortunate and privilege to be a part of it. And the fact that I get enough readership to pay the bills with my blog, it's crazy. It's just crazy because my blog every day has several thousand unique readers, and every month has anywhere between 80 and 120,000 unique readers. It's so weird to think that people make you a significant part of their life. And you saw it, American Atheists. You walk 20 feet, and then there's someone else who reads your blog and who really cares about your work, and you've had an impact in their life, and they want a picture with you, and they want to get a hug, and it's so surreal, which I guess is a good feeling, because then I never think like, oh yes, I'm all high and mighty. Sometimes I go the opposite way to joke about it, like I walk around and be like, I'm famous, bitch, get on my level. But like obviously I don't mean it. And when I really grapple with the thought that people appreciate what I do, I don't know, it's flattering, but it's really weird. Like you almost don't even want to believe it, Does that make sense?
It does, because I don't know if you checked out my page on Facebook at all, but I've got just almost at about 80,000 people on there, and I know I've gotten a lot of well, to be honest, saying that I'm famous on Facebook is a lot like saying I'm famous at Walmart.
No, man. Hey, Facebook, people use it to gather people into a community and to organize. And those communities give people a place to belong with other people like them that they don't get in Northern Alabama and places like that. That's real activist work. Don't shortchange it.
Well, I appreciate that. And I mean, I feel like, because I have a group set up that's got, just under 10,000 people in it. And, we've got several subgroups, even to include like a recovering, like a drug addiction recovery group, and then more of a mental health kind of group, just like a support group. And so we've got this really wide range of a network of groups to where we can actually help people on a more one-on-one basis. And so, I am trying to do my best as far as what I can do, for as far as being an activist, I guess. But I guess I just feel really stifled with, the biggest part of it is, my Facebook page. But at the same time, like I can post a Patheos link and like less than 1,000 people will see it. And so it's really disheartening. Because, unless you're like Joshua Feuerstein and, you've got this mommy and daddy that just pour money into your Facebook page, it almost seems like you can't go anywhere with it.
No, you can. It just takes time. Everyone. I get a lot of emails asking, how do I make it as a blogger? And what they're implying is like, how do I make it overnight? And there's just no way to do it. You have to do it for free for a really long time and enjoy it and be passionate about it and not get burnt out, which you do if acquiring an audience is your goal. And then after a long time, you eventually get lucky. But as long as you're passionate about it, it doesn't matter if one person's reading it or 1 million people are reading it. You're doing it for the work.
Exactly. And, that's how I treated my page, and I still do, because I my page started out as just an outlet for me and being able to, freely express my own views about stuff. So, it was never about the numbers for me. It was never about being popular or anything like that. Although, I mean, I'll admit that I do pay attention to them, but at the same time, it's
sure,
like,
everybody looks.
Yeah, there was one here recently. Facebook cleaned up their whole account thing, and I lost like 2,000 people off my page because they were like fake accounts or something like that. And so it didn't really discourage me. I was just like, oh well, okay. My YouTube channel here, I don't really care about how fast it grows or anything like that. I just enjoy being able to talk to awesome-ass people like you.
Oh, now you're just trying to get in my pants.
Yeah, I am.
I've seen what people in Northern Alabama look up on Pornhub. I've seen those statistics.
We like them ebony chicks. That's what we like.
And you like that gay porn.
Oh yeah, you get some black gay porn and ooh doggy.
No, and actually, this is the best part of it for me. When I travel, I tell people, like, you don't have to put me in a hotel. You can put me on someone's couch. One, my mutant power is I can sleep anywhere, so a couch is just as good as a hotel room. But doing that, I get to meet the people in the atheist movement who are doing good work and the people who cared enough about me to bring me in. Or I get to talk to people like you, people who are doing real passionate work. And it's almost, God, it's almost unfair because like people view the public figure as the people who are the most successful, which isn't true. We just have a different job from the people who are like making quilts and selling them and giving the profits to some atheist organization they love. You know, like we're all doing equal work, and getting to meet the people who I think are probably doing better, more important work than I, who have received much less of the recognition for it. Uh, that's one of the best things about this job, you know, aside from getting to work in my pajamas.
Well, yeah. And if I remember correctly on Atheist Analysis, you actually said that you had done one interview where you were pantsless.
Yeah, oh my God, that admitting that's going to come back to haunt me. So one time I was being interviewed by the New York Times, and it was a phone interview. And so I was in my room, and I just took off all my clothes because I was like, I want to be able to say one day that I was interviewed by the New York Times while I was naked. Like I don't know, I don't know why. It just cracked me up. It made no difference in the interview, but it just amused me in my head, you know?
Yeah. JT, what do you have going on like coming up this year as far as either your blog or activism or any kind of appearances go?
I think the next major gig I've got is Gateway to Reason in August, and I have a tentative invite to Aposticon in September, assuming everything works out financially. So it's not set in stone, but it's tentative. But actually, you know what I've got. You know, I used to be an opera singer. I've taken on some private voice students for the first time in a while, and that's been supplementing my income, though I don't charge anywhere near the going rate. But the next thing for me is tomorrow night driving up. The high school where I teach private voice lessons is about 75 minutes away. Is driving up there with my wife and watching them in their high school musical, and just God, I try to avoid like bragging on myself in sincerity too much, but I'm really good at working with young people, and I really enjoy vocal coaching. And the students I work with have made so much progress, and I'm so proud of it. I don't want to make it sound like the atheism is less important to me, but it's not. But you know, everything after that is just kind of in the back of my mind right now. Like that's the most important thing to me.
Oh, that's very cool. I know for me, once my group started really expanding and growing in other, subgroups and being able to really help people on a more personal level, my page really kind of took a back seat to that because, there's been several people in our groups that have that have come to the group and have really been hurting, and to the point of people were about to call like the police because they were afraid of suicide. And so we've been able to help these people and really set them on the right track and get them the help that they need. And so that has really taken a forefront to me. And then of course, there's the putting my face out there. I guess that was kind of the next step for me as far as all that goes. But as it relates to you, being on a more personal level with other atheists and really helping them out has been something that I really cherish and I really
It's the
hope to
best,
expand
isn't
on.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, and God, no matter like I know whatever pseudo quasi internet fame I've achieved won't last forever, but as long as it does last, God, I hope I never lose sight of that. Of just meeting other people and caring about what they're doing in the movement and caring about them. Like there's no part of me that wants what Richard Dawkins has, where he's so big that he can no longer keep track of individuals. Like I realize there's a utility to that, but I don't want it. I never want it.
yeah. I don't want that either because I mean, right now I randomly message people that have friended me, and I know that they're going through a harsh time or whatnot, and I would really hate to have such a massive following like Richard Dawkins to where I couldn't do that and be more on a one-on-one level, because that's
Yeah.
like we've been talking about here, rehashing the same thing, but that's where I really find a lot of positive things happening like in within our own community. And I think that that's one of the forefronts that we need to not shift our focus towards, but maybe pay more attention to, you know.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you coming on here tonight, JT, and talking with
Hey,
me
man.
and pretty much
I was
bullshitting.
flattered to be asked. Hey, the next time we're in the same place, hugs. I owe you at least 2 hugs for American Atheist now.
Yeah, definitely. And I wish I had gotten them from you, but it's kind of like I guess you could say I fangirled
No,
because
no, no, no.
because I was like, oh shit, there's JT Eberhard.
Oh God, no, no.
Don't shit
Okay,
don't shit your pants, John.
you tackle me next time. Now we're friends. You have no excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm holding you to it. Hey, thanks for having me on. I was flattered to be asked, and keep doing all the good work you're doing. And if I can ever help out in any way, you know how to reach me.
Definitely. And if there's anything that I can do to help you out, I usually try to share Patheist blogs when I can, but like I said,
Oh,
Facebook
thanks.
seems to stifle the reach of those.
That's okay. I appreciate it. Helps me pay the bills.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed this talk. If you will, after this thing goes down, leave us a comment down below. If there's anything relevant to JT, I will definitely get that to him. I guess everybody have a nice night, day, weekend, and don't forget to think skeptically and stay godless.